All right. Hi, everyone. This is, for now, the final step in analyzing your data is essentially building your themes. You can also think of this as the step as actually generating or identifying your findings. You know, you've gone through several steps already that were all geared toward analyzing your qualitative data, analyzing your survey data, taking a look at any quantitative data that you had. And now that you've done all of those steps, I hope you now see the complexity of it all, but it's here in this step where we'll sort of like integrate everything together. We'll take a look at all of the different analyses that we have to help make sense of how did our implementation go? How did our change idea go? What changed? Did anything change? What do we need to improve moving forward? So that's what this module is about. Now, essentially, you'll be writing up, or what you're doing here is some of the main stuff that you're going to put in your study phase section of your chapter 4. So this is where you're really trying to consolidate everything together and present them to your readers or present them to your audience. So think of this as the synthesis of all your analyses, is building your themes. So in this module, in these last few steps, we're really moving from data analyst to improvement storyteller, or the sense of you have already been so zoomed in to your data already and analyzing it that now we start to take a step back and we put them all next to each other to ask ourselves, well, what does this mean? We'll take that another step in 8.17 as we get into, like our plan for our plan for continuous improvement. But right now, we're still trying to make sense and understand our findings. So you've already run your analyses. Now it's all about understanding the story of how change happened or how change didn't happen in your context and what that means for your future improvement cycles. You'll take your findings, your themes, and that will be part of what informs your act phase, or it should be, right? Like you probably already have some decisions of what you might do differently, even just from your do phase. We can kind of mark off these things that, maybe next time I'll refine it this way. But we also need our data and our findings to help kind of shift or help inform what we're going to do next. Your messy, complex data is exactly what improvement science expects. Data is never really clean. Findings are never super clean. Real life is messy, and I think you've heard me share some of these ideas in some of these analysis modules already. But real improvement work generates contradictions, surprises, and partial successes. And you'll actually be you'll be challenged to, as you identify your themes, to ask yourself, is this theme contradictory to what I expected? Or are these patterns surprising? Are these patterns confirming and affirming what I thought would happen? So embrace this complexity rather than trying to clean it up into neat conclusions. We expect you to be surprised. We expect contradictions, and we also expect partial successes, or full successes are also great, but we're really just expecting partial successes. This is about improvement, not perfection. I'm sure that's probably a meme somewhere, but remember, like, we're just taking this step by step. I think sometimes if I'm guilty of this too, and I get really zoomed into a project, I kind of lose sight of everything else. And remember that this is just like one stepping stone. This is one piece of your big puzzle. We'll keep going. Every theme that you find, every theme should connect to your theory of improvement. Remember that we're keeping it all in the context of our theory of improvement, which includes your driver diagram and how those drivers are related and how some of those drivers drive improvement or drive some of the issues or problems that you find in your systems. So your driver diagram and hypothesis, again, just like your leaning of what you think your implementation idea will do, they aren't just background, they're your analytical compass for determining which patterns matter most and what they reveal about how change occurs. Everything should connect back to your theory of improvement. You should make sense of your theme within the context of your theory of improvement. You're building these themes for action, and you'll probably see me, I keep using the term build, or you might in some of these resources see the term generate or the term identify. I resist the notion of themes just emerging. That kind of implies that a theme is there and it's just going to pop up to you. It doesn't. We need human beings to analyze these things to find patterns. So it's your expertise and your ability to think critically and analytically that actually generates and builds these themes. So you're building themes for action, not just academic analysis. This isn't just an assignment in this course. This isn't just for a few pages in your dissertation. This should also be practical. It should also be very applicable to you. And so I hope that in building your themes, there's this intimacy with your problem of practice and this intimacy with your context. Each theme you develop should help you or other improvement scientists understand what to do differently in the next PDSA cycle, not just what happened in this one. And so I think you'll find in some of the materials that are offered, it'll branch right into your ACT phase of what to do next. And the ideas that you're able to jot down here in your analysis phase should inform what you're actually writing up in your ACT phase as well. Clear enough to act, right? We had like good enough before, like this idea that's clear enough to act is your standard for theme development. Like, will our themes ever be perfect? No. Or like, could we spend 6, 8, 10 weeks really looking at our data and digging and digging and digging and digging? If you have a lot of data, yes. But really, when we're engaging improvement scientists, we're kind of looking for these very practical ways that we can make change and make change quickly and implement things so that we continue to, we don't get bogged down in really, really massive, big projects that we're kind of trying to take small steps at a time. You don't need perfect explanations or complete understanding. You need themes robust enough to inform decisions about scaling, adapting, or redesigning your improvement approach. So they don't have to be perfect. They will probably never feel complete, but you just need enough. They need to be robust enough that you can make a good decision for moving forward. And if you're curious of like, is this robust enough to inform our decision? Speak with your stakeholders, make a collective decision. And it is okay for you to say, you know what? I don't think we have enough to decide what to do next. Or at least that should be indication that you might know what to do next. And that's to dig a little bit deeper or plan a little bit better or go back to the drawing board for some things. Some tips for this module. Trust the process and don't rush to conclusions. You are going to find some worksheets, like templates, worksheets here in this module to help you organize your thinking. And trust me when I say use these templates, they will help in this process. And you might look at some of these templates, you might look at some of this process and be like, that's too much. I know what my findings are. And many people and many folks and many graduates, like we sometimes just, we're so quick to jump to conclusions. We're so quick to just jump straight to what it all means. But I do implore you to take your time with each of these steps. This can be complex work. And if you can understand how we can approach these things from this analysis perspective, it does, one, get easier over time. You might not need these worksheets and templates over time, but they are there to help guide your thinking. The systematic approach that we'll take here in this module will lead to stronger, more nuanced themes and trying to identify big insights immediately. Trust me, and I think you'll get what I mean by this as you work through the worksheets. Tip number 2, keep your driver diagram visible and refer to it constantly. I can't say that enough. Like, we're kind of keeping our goal in mind. We're keeping our system in mind. We're keeping our drivers in mind. We're keeping our theory improvement right at the forefront. Every pattern you identify and every theme you develop, we'll talk about the difference of those two things, patterns and themes, should connect back to your improvement theory. If you can't make these connections, you may be getting lost in interesting but peripheral findings. Again, you can do your second dissertation later on a whole different driver diagram of your problem of practice, right? But right now, try to keep things focused. Tip number 3, final tip, embrace the messiness before seeking clarity. This is similar to like trust the process, don't rush. But here it's like, it might be a little messy. You might feel like you're juggling a little bit. You're going to look at some of like a worksheet or a matrix and be like, oh my gosh, what patterns are here? Trust the process. It will be messy. Try to relax in the messiness, expect it to be messy, and work from there. Your data will have contradictions, surprises, and complexities. We expect that, okay? And I can't say that enough. We expect it to have contradictions, surprises, and complexities. Don't try to clean it up too quickly. The richness of improvement science comes from understanding why things work differently than expected or why change happened in unexpected ways. So The complexity is okay. We want it. We look for it. You want to be a leader who is comfortable with complexity. You want to be a leader who is comfortable with messiness. Granted, you might be like working to organize some of that messiness, but it's not something that scares you. It's not something that freezes you. It's something that you actually expect when you're working with systems, when you're working with complex systems, and especially when you start working with systems through the lens of ethics, equity, and social justice. It's going to get really complex. It's going to get really messy. And so that's okay. Stick with it. All right. Hope you enjoy the materials in this final module. Take your time with these. These are materials that you can download as you're kind of engaging in your analysis. These are things that you can work on. You know, let's say you've analyzed your qualitative findings. You can probably go ahead and work through some of these worksheets as you keep collecting data and analyzing it. You can draft your findings, kind of input your findings into these materials so that you can then start to see some patterns across different sources of data, across different maybe populations, across your different inquiry questions, etc. So, all right, good luck.